Hello and namaste. My name is Rebecca, and today we are going through a Vata pacifying flow. So if you're not sure what that means, I will put a very brief description in the caption below. Today's class, I'll be using quite a few props that I will also list below. You can get through class without any props, but if you've got the props or prop alternatives, I would highly encourage you to use them. So let's get started. We're going to start in standing. We will start standing here at the front of your mat, feet whatever distance is comfortable apart. Shoulders are down and back. Low belly gently tucked in so the core is a little bit active. A little bit of a bend in your knees. And start to connect with your breath. If you'd like and are comfortable, you can close your eyes. Or look down a little bit. Feel the earth underneath your feet. Feel your feet really rooted into the earth. Almost as if you're growing roots down into the earth through your feet. Shift your weight side to side until you find that even balance between each foot. The Vata Dosha has poses that can help pacify, but also the way that we practice can help pacify Vata. Some of that is by where we gaze, either horizon line or lower. How we move, moving slowly, almost as if you're moving through mud. And staying very focused on what is rooted and grounded into the earth. We want to create that sense of heaviness, of groundedness, of stability with our practice. On your next breath in, bring your arms up overhead. Exhale, bring the hands down in prayer to the heart center. Inhale, bring the arms up again. Exhale, sit your bottom back, chair pose. Arms can stay up overhead. You can bring them down to prayer. Slightly more weight back through the heels. Again, feeling very grounded into your feet. Even weight through each foot. Activating the large muscles of our quads, our hamstrings, our glutes. Again, either looking at the horizon level or down. Breathe in. Breathe out, forward fold, hands come down. Hands can be on the floor, they can be on blocks, knees can be bent. Feeling the release from the low back all the way up the spine to the back of the neck, to the crown of the head. Feel the belly making contact with the thighs. to standing, one vertebra at a time. Head and shoulders come up last. Once you're up, do a little shoulder roll up and back, opening up the chest. Feel your feet rooted down. I'm going to go through that flow one more time. Breathe in, lift the arms. Breathe out, prayer hands. Breathe in, lift the arms. Breathe out, chair. Stay here. Toes stay nice and light. You can lift them up, wiggle them around, but the balls of the feet and the heels are really grounded. Low belly is engaged. Breathe in. Breathe out, forward fold. Stay here for a few breaths. Let the head hang heavy. If you want a little movement here, you can shift your weight forward onto the balls of the feet. Shift the weight back towards the heels. Back and forth. The Vata Dosha is all about movement. It's wind, air. So we need to slow things down to counteract that, but sometimes if your Vata is really high, it's really hard to sit still because you want to keep moving. So you can find gentle movements in your poses that kind of appease that without intensifying that quality too much. Good. I'm going to place my hands on blocks. If you have blocks, you may do the same. Otherwise, you can keep the hands on the floor. Breathe in. Breathe out. Bring your right foot all the way back. So you're in a runner's lunge. On the ball of the back foot, firm through the entire front foot. Pulling the left hip back as you pull the right hip forward. Strong through the back thigh, squeezing the thigh so the knee is straight. You can have quite a bit of weight through the hands. If you want to be a little more active through the front foot, you can start to unweight the hands a little bit. You'll feel more work through the left leg. Broad through your shoulders, through your collarbones. We're going to set up for warrior one. So I like to bring my back foot forward a little bit, back heel down. Toes are pointing out at about a 45-degree angle. When you're ready, bring the arms up. Hips are staying more or less square towards the front of your mat. If this is too much on your ankle or on the back leg, you can stay up on the ball of the foot for a high lunge. I like to ground my heel down. I feel a little more stable, especially for a Vata focused flow. Again, gaze is horizon level or lower. Keep the breath as relaxed and Gently moving as you can, even as we start to build up heat here. Good. Bring the hands to prayer as you straighten the front leg. Active pyramid pose here. So keep the hips square towards the front of the mat. Low belly tucks in. And then you're going to hinge forward from the hips. Chest is coming down up to parallel to the earth. You can do a little bit less than that. Those high in Vata Dosha, like myself, we like to stretch and not work very hard, so it's important if your Vata is high to really engage a lot of the really big muscles, which this pose definitely does. It helps get your blood flowing a little bit better, helps warm you up from the inside. Good. Bring your hands down to your blocks or to the floor. Bring that right foot forward so you're in forward fold at the front of your mat. Couple breaths here. Good. Straighten the arms. Bring the left foot back to your runner's lunge. All the same qualities here on this side. One side might feel quite a bit different than the other, and that's okay. Just be mindful. Keeping the core tucked tight. Trying not to lean too much on that front leg. If you can, lift out of the hands a little bit so you're a little more active through the legs. If that's too much for you today, that is completely fine. Put more weight onto the hands. That's why I like blocks, because I have longer legs, so it's really hard for me to do this pose without really dumping into that front leg just because it's in the way of my hands. And we'll set up for warrior one. So I'm going to bring my back foot forward a little bit. Inhale to come up. Keeping your hips working towards square to the front of the mat. We're not robotic, we're organic, so don't shove or force anything, but gently bringing the right hip back as you bring the left hip forward. If your arms are up overhead, really wrap the shoulder blades around the rib cage so that you're really broad through the shoulders. Lots of space in the neck. Feel both feet really solid into the earth. Good. Bring the hands into prayer as you straighten the front leg. When you're ready, shifting forward into pyramid pose, active pyramid pose if you've got it in you today. Really working those lower body muscles. Keeping that right hip back, left hip forward. A little bit of a bend in the front leg. It's easy to hyperextend that front knee. Be mindful that you're not dumping too much weight into the back of the knee. Good. Bring the hands down to your blocks or to the floor. Step the left foot forward, forward fold. Couple breaths here. Should be feeling a little bit of warmth. That's what we want. Vata, one of Vata's qualities is cool, cold, dry. So we want to warm ourselves from the inside out. A little bit of sweat helps the skin so it's not so dry. Gently roll up to standing, nice and slow. We're going to go through that sequence one more time. Starting here in Tadasana, mountain pose. Breathe in, bring the arms up. Breathe out, prayer. Breathe in, arms up. Breathe out, chair. Stay here for a breath. Breathe in. Breathe out, forward fold. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in, straighten the arms. Breathe out, right foot back, runner's lunge. Take a moment to establish the base. Get grounded and stable through the feet, through the legs. And then work up into the core, into the shoulders, into the arms. Play around with the weight that you put into the hands. Set up for warrior one, whatever that means for you. When you're ready, come on up. Exhale, stay. Maybe bending a little deeper into this stretch as we repeat it, maybe not. Listen to your body. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in, hands in prayer, straighten the front knee. Breathe out, pyramid pose, shift forward. Chest stays open, collarbones open as you lean forward. Spine long and straight. Breathe in. Breathe out, hands to your blocks or to the floor. Step your right foot forward, forward fold. Slowly roll yourself up to standing. Breathe in, lift the arms. Breathe out, hands in prayer. Breathe in, arms up. Breathe out, chair. Even as we go through these poses a little bit faster, we're still holding each pose for at least 2 or 3 breaths. We're moving nice and slow in between each posture. Breathe in. Breathe out, hands down, forward fold. Breathe in, straighten the elbows. Breathe out, left foot back, runner's lunge. Feel equal weight between the big toe side and the pinky toe side of that back foot. Even weight through the front foot, maybe a little bit more weight through the heel versus through the ball of the foot on that right foot. Again, really focusing on what is making contact with the earth, whether that's your feet or your hands on the mat or on your blocks. Set up for warrior one. When you're ready, lifting up. Making an effort to maintain a nice, slow, calm breath. If you feel like it's getting chaotic, then you can stop in a little bit of a more restful pose. Maybe come down to a child's pose. We'll slow things down even more after this sequence. Feel the thigh, that right thigh really working. Inhale to straighten the knee, bring the hands down to prayer. Breathe in. And on your exhale, hinge forward, pyramid pose. Gently pulling right hip back, left hip forward. Breathe in. Breathe out, hands to your blocks. Left foot forward, forward fold. Breathe in, straighten the elbows. Breathe out, bend your knees so that your butt comes all the way down to the floor. All right, we are going to set up for boat pose, savasana, so you can shift yourself closer to the middle of your mat. Set up like me, knees up, feet flat, hands around the knees. When you're ready, start to lean the shoulders back. Spine is long, low belly's tucked in. You can stay here. If you want a little bit more, you can let go and just bring the fingertips pulling towards the front of your mat. If you want a little bit more, you can lift one foot. If you want a little bit more, you can lift both feet. Knees can be bent or straight. Knees can be together or wider. I keep them about hip width apart. It's more comfortable for me. Embrace the shakes. Again, we're working those large muscle groups, which is really great to balance out a high Vata constitution. Really long through the spine. One more breath here. And exhale, bring the feet down, hands on knees, relax. We're gonna set up for a Janu Sirsasana, which is kind of like a tree pose, leg with one leg extended, the other foot is towards the inner leg. So I'm gonna prop mine up quite a bit. You are welcome to do the same. So I'm gonna put a little blanket under my hips. I'm gonna use a strap. And I'm gonna use a second blanket rolled up just a little bit to put underneath my knee. So I'm gonna start with my right leg extended long in front, straight in front of me. Again, use as many or as few props as you would like. So right leg is long, left foot is towards either the inner thigh, inner knee. If you have a block and you want to prop up your left knee, if your left knee is kind of floating up in space, you can support it with a blanket or blocks. Once you've got your lower half set up, you can use a strap around the ball of the foot, keeping the spine nice and long, starting to hinge forward just like we did in pyramid pose. Gently pulling on your strap. If you don't have a strap or don't want to use your strap, you can just have your hands on your leg anywhere or on the mat on either side of the leg. Focus here is keeping the abdominal muscles going, keeping them engaged, and keeping the spine nice and long for this version of Janu. Once you're situated, finding that balance between effort and ease. I tend to not want to really use any of my muscles, and I just want to stretch and be floppy, so I have to kind of be consciously more aware of using my muscles. In this case, using my upper body and my core. Take one more breath. Release your strap if you've got it. We're going to set up for another savasana or boat pose. So I'm just going to sit back on my blanket. If you want to remove your props for this, go right ahead. I'm going to be lazy and not move them. So wherever you're at, same setup, leaning back, holding onto the knees to start. Pull the rib cage in, pull the low belly in, belly button to spine. Maybe release the hands. Lift your opposite foot first, then the other foot if you want. Balancing the blanket actually makes it a little bit harder to balance. For me anyway. Keeping the spine nice and long. Keep your easy breath. Take one more breath. And then release. Nice job. That's not an easy one, and it's not a fun one for me, but it's one that my body needs, that's for sure. And we're gonna set up when you're ready for the other side. Janusasana. So this time your left leg is extended long, right knee is out to the side. You want even weight through both sitting bones. It's easy to kind of lean off to one side or the other, depending on where you're restricted. Just be mindful of that. Don't need to micromanage too much, but just be aware. Use your strap if you want, if you've got it. Otherwise, you can use your leg, grabbing onto the leg or onto the mat. Keeping that slight engagement of the core muscles. Long through the spine. Relaxed in the neck and the face. When I'm feeling especially Vata, high Vata, meaning more joint pain, more flightiness. I really like to prop up my practice quite a bit, using lots of blankets and blocks, because it just helps support my joints better. It helps me feel more grounded and stable. It's such a small thing, but it makes a really big difference in my practice. Take one more breath. Good, you can release your strap. Bring it up to the side. And we'll get all these blankets out of the way if you used them. We're gonna get into a tabletop position on your hands and your knees. We're gonna set up for a headstand prep. So don't freak out. I don't headstand completely, but the prep is a really, again, it's using a lot of really major muscles through the upper back, through the shoulders, which really helps to ground, and also that inversion will really help ground a high Vata. And anxious restlessness, it really helps with all of that. So we'll start in tabletop position. There's going to be several stops along the way here. And then we'll bring the elbows down. Elbows at shoulder width, or maybe a little bit more narrow than that. You don't want to go too much wider than shoulder width. And then you can clasp the hands together. So even right here, keeping the shoulders really broad. So there's a lot of space through the upper back and space through the neck. All of the weight should be through your forearms, meaning between your wrists and your elbows. Not a whole lot in your hand, really not any weight in the hands. So hands are weightless, fingers are nice and relaxed. You can stay here. If you want a little bit more, you can turn the toes under, lift the knees up. Keeping the knees however bent your hamstrings would like. Again, focusing on the weight distribution through the forearms. Your head is not on the ground. It's just floating. If you want, you can step the feet a little bit closer, so you're getting a little bit closer to hips over shoulders. And then if you'd like to play with the headstand idea, you can just tap the head down between the wrists and then lift back up. Tap and lift. So you're not really putting any weight through the head, you're just lightly tapping it down and then using your shoulder arm muscles to pull back up. Good, bring the knees down, child's pose, hips back towards the heels, wrap the arms along the legs so the hands and the feet are together, facing the same direction. Reestablish the breath if you lost it. Feel the weight of the head into the forehead, into the earth. You can stay here in child's pose, or if you like, we're going to try one more round of our savasana prep, headstand prep, if you wish. If not, stay in your child's pose. Everything's exactly the same setup. I like to kind of wiggle my forearms so that the flesh is out of the way and I can really feel the bones of my forearms down on the mat. Stopping at whatever stop you'd like. If you're going for it again, maybe try to walk your feet a little bit closer to the elbows. You can keep the head lifted, or you can start to tap and lift. Again, shoulders broad. Shoulder blades are wrapping around the rib cage towards the front of your rib cage. Lots of space in the neck. And then everyone meet back in child's pose. Try to let everything release, all the muscles. No effort here. Good, slowly come on up. And we're gonna work on a legs up the wall pose next. So again, I'm going to do a very prop heavy version of legs up the wall. If you've got props, use them. If not, hopefully you have at least a wall that you can access to at least get the wall to support you. Otherwise, you can do legs up the wall just laying back on your mat. But I'm gonna make a very prop heavy version myself. So what I'm gonna do is extend one blanket pretty long. And I have a bolster. So I'm gonna put my bolster down first. If you've got pillows, you can use pillows. You could use more folded up blankets. And I'm just gonna make one long blanket so that I have my shoulders and upper body also supported by the blanket. And then my other blanket is gonna go on top. And you don't have to be flush against the wall. We don't really care about stretching our hamstrings for this. It's more for the inversion. There's not a graceful way to get into this, especially not with all these props. So I like to get my hips kind of close and then get them up and over. And then bring my shoulders down as I get my feet up. And then I have to kind of shimmy myself into position. So again, you can be hips flush up against the wall, or they can be a little bit further out for a little less intensity on the hamstrings. You can keep your knees bent so it's more like your heels are on the wall. Just find a spot where everything is content. Play around with the props if you need to. We'll be here for a couple of minutes, so make sure you find something that is going to be comfortable for that amount of time. Arms wherever is comfortable. I have them out in like cactus or goalpost arms. You can have one hand on the heart, one hand on the low belly. You can have arms down along the sides. And again here, hopefully making it so that everything can release. All the muscles can relax. And imagine while you're here that your legs are a waterfall. So the very top, the tippy toes is the very top of the waterfall's edge, and the water is flowing down through the legs into the hips, and then continuing on through the rest of the body into the head, into the arms. And just kind of imagine that cycle moving through. As that water is flowing through the body, imagine that it's helping to release all the muscles, all the bones, all the connective tissue. That flow of water is helping ground the body, making it heavy. Take one more breath here. And then nice and slow, start to come out of this pose. So bending one knee, other knee, so both feet are flat onto the wall. You've got two options from here. You can either roll onto your side, or you can kind of scooch yourself straight back. Again, there's no graceful way to get in and out of this pose. Just do whatever it takes to come out. And our last pose is shavasana, so let's set up for that. Just like our other poses today, I'm gonna make my shavasana very prop heavy. I'm also planning on staying in shavasana for 20 minutes, which is another very important part of a Vata balancing flow, is to really focus and spend a lot of time on shavasana. So we want to get really bolstered up and supported, and then we want to give the body the time to fully release and relax. So I really hope that you stay with me for the 20 minutes. I will hold space here this whole time, and then I will guide you back out when our time is up. So if you have a personal preference on how you like to set up your shavasana, please do that. I'm going to show you how I do it. So I'm going to have my blanket long And I'm going to roll it up the long way. Hot dog way for anyone that remembers elementary school. And what that's going to be is it's going to set up a little kind of cocoon for my head. My other blanket I'm going to have folded like so, and then I'm just going to roll it a couple of times, which is going to be for my kind of lower legs, heels. So you're going to have kind of the backs of your ankles on this part so that your heels are lifted. And then the last thing is either another blanket for under your knees. If you have a bolster, you can put that under your knees. You can use pillows, whatever. If you only have a couple props, I would suggest the knee support being one of your first priorities. If you've got a weighted eye, like sandbag, that's another great option. Or you can use a towel over your eyes. Vatas can be very distracted by external stimuli, light, sound, so it's good to just try to eliminate as many of those as possible. So once you're laying down, you can kind of play around with all of your props here to get yourself really situated. I like to tuck the ends of my little forehead cocoon under my shoulders. And again, Vatas can be very fidgety and restless, so take your time to really get everything situated so that you're not distracted by any sensations of asymmetry or anything like that, or any areas that might get uncomfortable after a few minutes. And once you get yourself situated, make sure you give yourself the first couple minutes to still kind of work out any areas of discomfort, move around, so that you can really be as comfortable as possible for the last 15 or so minutes. Arms wherever you prefer, whatever's most comfortable. Palms down for more grounding, palms up to receive. I like to do palms down for Vata, focused flow. And once you're situated, take a couple really deep, slow breaths, and then just let the breath be whatever it wants to be. Don't force it. I want you to feel spacious in the shoulders, in the low back. Then take a scan through the body from the head all the way down to the feet, and notice all the points of the body that are touching the earth. And imagine that those areas that are touching the earth are growing wider. As if the earth is growing up around you, around your arms, around your legs. keeping you weighted down, stable, supported. And scan through the body from the muscles of your face all the way down to the muscles in the bottom of the feet. Slowly work through and consciously try to release and relax every muscle. You might find as you get further through that the stuff you started with might have tensed up a little bit. So just take your time, work through, maybe go through the full scan a couple of times. At this point, hopefully you are comfortable remaining completely still. Try to just sit and be with your body and with your mind in this moment. Thoughts will arise, sensations in the body may arise. Don't run away from it, but also don't run away with it. Try to just be present with it. Let the thoughts and sensations come and go while you remain solidly rooted in the present moment. If you haven't practiced being still or meditation, this might feel difficult for you, especially if you're a higher Vata Dosha. Just try to be patient with yourself. With practice, it gets easier. It doesn't always feel the most serene and peaceful as it may seem, but it's a very important practice for Vata Dosha to slow down, to be still, and to be in the present moment, not blowing around with each breeze. So if you find your mind is running away with your thoughts, once you notice it, just gently bring it back to the present moment. Feel the body, feel the breath. Take a deep breath in. Long, slow breath out. When you're ready, you can start to bring some movement into the body, wiggling fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. And you can hug yourself into a little ball, or you can stretch your arms up overhead. Before we work on sitting up, just take a moment here and take stock on how you feel. Do you feel more relaxed? Do you feel more at peace? Do you feel more content? Notice how the mind feels and notice how the body feels. Hopefully it feels a little bit different than when we started class today. Hopefully it feels a little better. When you're ready, start to make our way onto one side. In the fetal position, you can use your arm to rest your head on. And then when you're ready, slowly push yourself up to a seat, head coming up last. Option to bring the hands to your heart center in prayer. It was so lovely to practice with you all. I hope that you feel a little bit more at peace, a little bit more grounded today after our class. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions, comments, concerns, anything of that nature. Please comment below. Please subscribe so you can see all of my classes that I'm going to start posting with all of the different doshas and different practices to help create some more balance in our lives. So until next time, thank you all.